you're actually starting the process of trying to become a ref.
Yes, sir.
How far are you in this process now?
When I decided to retire from playing basketball in 2018, that's when I picked up my whistle. So I've been doing it from 2018 to 2024.
6 years.
6 years, yeah.
Okay, and are you refereeing smaller games now, or?
I honestly referee semi-pro.
Semi-pro.
So I do semi-pro, the TBL league. I do Division III, do junior college. I do, of course, AAU basketball, but I do the Catholic, the CHSAA's, Catholic High School AA tournaments in New York City.
Well, I actually interviewed Tim Donaghy.
Okay.
You know who that is,
yeah,
right?
I know who that is.
Right, who actually went to prison for betting on his own games.
Mm-hmm.
And he said some interesting stuff during our interview. And what he said was that from the very top of the NBA, him and the other refs were told not to, make a lot of calls against Kobe and other superstar players because people are paying big money to sit on the floor, and they're not going to pay that money if Kobe is
in
on the
foul
bench.
trouble. Yep.
What kind of message would they tell the refs in terms of, make sure you call every foul and make sure that he's always, there to shoot extra points and so forth? Like how clear was the message coming from the NBA to the refs?
It was very clear. I'll never forget when Kobe was in a playoff series with the Phoenix Suns, and I forget who the defender was, but they called him the Kobe Stopper, or he referred to himself as the Kobe Stopper. And they would show us video of games previously of plays that fouls weren't called, of this guy holding him or defending him too strongly, and they wanted freedom of movement because they wanted higher scoring in these games. So they would show you plays and say, this was a foul that was missed, and these three referees missed this play. Make sure you don't let this happen tonight. Make sure you call this when this happens. And that's how they would program and train the officials in the next game to have more freedom of movement and have Kobe Bryant have the ability to score more points and do well. In their mind, they were telling you it's what's good for the game because it's going to open this up. Nobody wants to come to an NBA arena and see a game of 85-80. They want to see a flow of it going up and down the floor, lots of points being scored, and a guy like Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or one of the stars in the NBA, putting in 35 points and flying up and down the floor.
From your point of view as a player, did you see that?
Of course I did.
Explain.
And I can speak of it because I got the blunt of some of the calls that Kobe didn't get. So that's what. So
they
that's
just shifted them over to you.
They just shifted it over to me. So
that's wild.
So the foul calls that they couldn't call on Kobe Bryant, if I even breathed wrong, foul because they had to so they had to make it up somehow. So I got a brunt of those foul calls.
Okay.
But it just goes back to the NBA being a business. People, fans pay a lot of money to see the superstars play basketball.
Right.
They don't pay those billions of dollars to see those superstars sit on the bench.
Right. And Tim also said something interesting. He said that when he was betting on his games and he had this obscene winning record, he said it wasn't because he was purposely making calls to help his bets. He just said that once he knew who the refs are and who the players are, and he understood already the relationships between the refs and certain players, how certain refs didn't like certain players, and, like the Rasheed Wallaces of the world, and, refs always kind of had issues with, and vice versa, that he would know right off the bat, okay, this game's going to go a certain type of way because these refs are going to be a lot harder on these certain players, and that's going to end up affecting the score.
Okay.
The first time I placed a bet on an NBA game was I was at home and I was looking at the Philadelphia Daily News, and every day I would look at the lines and the spreads, and I also looked at the referee's master schedule of who was officiating games that day. And then I went over to the country club to play golf, and my buddy asked me to give him a couple plays in the NBA that night, and I rattled off 3 games to him, and they all won. And the next day he called me up and asked me if it was that easy, and I said it was, based on who was officiating the games.
So based on the general public, is 70 to 80%, is that just an obscenely high number in terms of winning?
Incredibly high. If you can win 57 to 58% of the time, that's considered good in the gambling world. So when we were winning at 70 to 80% of the time, that was an insane amount of percentage to pick games.
Okay, because most of the games that you bet on were games that you were a referee in, right?
Not in the beginning, they weren't, but it eventually spilled into that when I would be in the lunchroom or locker room or pregame meeting and know that certain things were going to be done in that game that night and certain teams were going to be put at an advantage or a disadvantage. I would spill that information over to the people that I was gambling with and started to bet on games that I officiated.
And he was right most of the time. And once they did an investigation, they really couldn't find any calls that he purposely made in order to help his bets out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he would, he said that him and Allen Iverson got into it, and he purposely was doing stuff to him because Allen, I guess, threatened a referee and so forth. But can you see that as a ref these days? That type of thing happening? Because after he got busted, they changed all the rules where you didn't even know who the ref was until 10 minutes before the game and so forth. They changed things around.
Yeah, I can't see that now. I don't know too much about what's going on or the ins and outs of the NBA refs or college refs or high school refs. I just go out there and try to, officiate the best way that I can because I'm trying to level up. Mm-hmm. So I have to look a certain way. I have to, make certain calls and make the proper calls, I should say. So I don't see what other referees are doing or what stories they're telling. I'm not privy to that information.
I mean, you would think that being a professional NBA player, it'd be a relatively easy transition to be a ref because most refs maybe played high school, maybe a few of them played college. Mm-hmm. There's only been 4 professional NBA players that became refs.
Yeah.
You see a lot more players becoming coaches and assistant coaches and everything else like that. How come you don't see players transitioning into refs?
I don't know. I think that's more of, a personal decision. Players want to become coaches or trainers or broadcasting. I don't know if other NBA players have tried to become referees. I don't know why. I just know that I didn't want to go into broadcasting and I didn't want to become a coach or a trainer. And I wanted to become an official. And I'm not going to say that it would be easy to go from playing basketball to officiating because officiating is hard work. It's very hard. And I've learned more about the game of basketball from the officiating side than I did while I was playing. It's a lot that goes into being able to become an official at a high level.
Well, yeah. I mean, trying to survey the whole court.
No. See, that's what a lot of people think. Huh. A referee's job is not to survey the whole court. You're supposed to cover the 1/3 of a court that from the position that you're in.
Still, there's a lot going on in that 1/3 of a court.
Yeah, it is.
Very quickly in real time. I mean, yeah, you could have instant replay, but if you have a ref that's constantly having to use an instant replay, they're probably not going to be a ref for very long.
No, not at all.
They have to be catching things as it's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Well, I hope you get it.
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? I think it'll be an inspiration to a lot of players because, I mean, professional sports is such a weird profession in the sense that, for example, I just interviewed Richard Mendenhall, who retired from the NFL at 26. And he was saying how in his position, he was past his prime at 26.
At 26.
And I'm like, in the interview, I said, even strippers aren't past their prime at 26. You know what I'm saying? Like strippers are still going strong at 26.
Yeah.
But a professional athlete at 26 in certain positions, they're having to think of their next career.
Yeah.
Well, you're 26 years old.
Yes. Yes.
And you have teams that are interested.
Yes, because my agent was getting calls through via free agency.
You could continue in football.
Yeah.
I actually looked it up. The oldest football player to play was 42.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. You can keep going.
You know what I'm saying? You still had realistically 5 years.
Almost have.
Right? Maybe even 10 if you push it.
10's crazy for
10's crazy, but 5 is realistic, right?
Realistic,
you see 30-year-old, 31-year-old football players.
Yeah. Some of my peers have done it. Running backs. Yeah.
Exactly. What really made you say, okay, at 26, I am walking away from a sport that still wants me?
Thinking about professionally, like if the Arizona Cardinals didn't say, oh, we undoubtedly want you back and we want you to keep leading this team. If they don't say that, then what happens? I go back to free agency again and I'm, going to another team. Now I'm with the Tennessee Titans. I'm wearing a weird number, like 37. And at that point, they start to devalue you as a running back anyway. I feel like back in the day, like in the Emmitt Smith era, like Jerome Bettis, like when you have those running back one guys, you're given a chance and a space to mature as a running back, where in their years 7, 8, 9, they may not have been the same as year 3 and 4, but they still carried weight. They still evolved their play. They still were those guys that led their team and commanded their team. So I feel like back in the day, you were given a chance to mature as a running back. Now it's like you want somebody younger. You want somebody, quicker, faster, right away. So I just felt like I would have been in a situation where I'm holding on for dear life as a running back as well. So those two things together felt like it was time to leave. I don't know what it's going to be for me, but I'm pretty sure I'll be devalued anyway. It was just time.
I mean, it's crazy that a 26-year-old is saying that there's younger guys that the team is more interested in. You're 26.
Yeah, you got it.
26. Yeah. No other career in the real world are you saying that. I mean, even strippers at 26 are still at their prime.
They still going.
You know what I'm
for real. For sure.
They're not worried about the 18-year-olds.
No, for real. They still
at
going.
At 26, they're still getting their money.
Yeah, they grow women body.
In football at 26, you're feeling over the hill. That's just wild when I hear you say that.
Yeah. 6 years in the league, that'll do it. So, so you're considered, considered an older RB.
You only have a short period of time. I mean, yes, you have the outliers, the superstars that have 10, 15-year careers. You have the Tom Brady's, whatever else. But as a whole, what do you have? Like 3 years average, 2.5 years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You talk about football or basketball?
Well, just sports in general.
Sports in general,
Sports in general.
So, it's interesting when I found out that you had, in the NBA, if you play more than 3 years, you qualify for the pension.
Right.
Only 3 years.
3 years.
And a lot of people don't make it 3 years.
A lot of people don't qualify.
And I found it interesting, but if you think about it, the NBA is a revolving door. Every year there's a guaranteed 24 guys that need 24 spots in the NBA.
Right. I mean, I just had John Sally on here, and he talked about how the NBA doesn't want old players in the league. It's all about the young guys. People aren't buying LeBron sneakers. They're buying the John Morants.
It's not good for the league to have old players and still hanging around. It takes away from the advertisement.
Really?
Away. Yeah.
Oh.
You're trying to sell John Morant sneakers. You're not trying to sell bronze,
Yeah.
And, to the point where Nike had to get rid of Nike Golf.
Wait, that's gone?
Yeah.
I know that Tiger Woods just left Nike.
Yeah, because Nike.
Oh, because the whole thing is gone?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they have to focus back, So Jordan Brand is the NBA. And Jordan Brand was blessed enough to get Michigan. So Nike had to get back to running. Because they need to get back to their core. So they had to drop things that weren't making them. They couldn't, Tiger Woods is great for them, but which one of the new up and coming kids are going to say, I want some Tiger Woods? No, they're going to go with who the new guy is.
Right.
So in business, you especially in sports, you get in, you get out. If you last 10 years, you are blessed. You are blessed.
That's true. No, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're focusing on.
Mhm.
They're focusing on the young bloods
Yeah.
and trying to get the old guys out of there. That's the business.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I mean, let's see, you start at 21, let's say, if you
Mhm.
leave school a little bit early. 3 years later, you're 24, you're cut. You're a very young man
Mm-hmm.
with the majority of your life ahead of you, and you had this game plan the whole time. It was very structured. From the moment you're, a teenager, okay, this guy's going to potentially go to the NBA, forget school, rush him through these classes, make sure that he's NBA bound and do whatever. Here's your structure. Don't worry about anything else except playing. You get to college, same thing, playing.
Yeah.
You get to NBA, it's completely devours your whole life.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have no structure.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what to do. You don't know what to make money from.
Yeah.
Gilbert Arenas, I remember, as rich as he was when he left the NBA with $100 million in the bank, he said he just went through depression. He would just get in his car and pick the longest possible route to where he was going and just sit in his car for hours, listen to music, not knowing what to do with himself with $100 million in the bank.
Yeah.
What I did when I first, retired, I had to try to figure out how to be busy between 9 o'clock and 12. And then it's lunchtime, then I go to sleep, and then about 5 o'clock to like 8, be busy again. So what I caught myself doing, not even noticing, not even really understanding it. I'm driving from Calabasas all the way to downtown.
Just to kill time.
Just to kill time. In traffic, just listen to music, got a fucking playlist. Trying to, like, how it's like, all right, take this route for shorter. I'm taking the longest route. Right? Just driving to downtown, driving back. By the time I get back, it's noon. Fucking lunchtime. Go get some lunch. Go on my TV, pass out, wake up, do it again. I spent a year driving in traffic.
Wow.
Like, I'll buy a new car and I got like fucking 30,000 miles on it in a year because I'm just fucking in traffic the whole time. Just having fucking fun. Just do this.
So even with the money, you just don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. And this is, you're still trying to figure out what you're going to do and so forth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
You want to be a referee. Once again, you have to figure out your own path, and there's no fast track for NBA players to become referees.
No.
And that's sort of the unfortunate part of sports, I feel. And I've interviewed hundreds of athletes, some of the best,
Yeah.
Hall of Famers and almost Hall of Famers, even the Pete Roses of the world that had a huge, giant career, and yet now they're still struggling financially because shit happens.
Shit happens.
Shit happens. Well, Smush, man, I appreciate you coming in. At the end of the day, regardless of what people say, you made it to the very highest levels.
Yes, sir.
You played in the best league on the planet with the best players. You were a starter. You put points on the board. You did your thing on multiple teams. People are gonna, if you don't want anyone to criticize you, don't do anything.
That's what I say all the time.
But the fact you did something and people got something to say means that you did something.
Yes, sir.
And 99.9% of the people who say something didn't do nothing. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And when in the interview, you said, well, you were good. And I'm like, no, you're not good. You're great. And don't let anyone else take that away from you. You were great. You weren't the very, very best, you know what I mean? But you were great. And all over the planet, there's kids that wish that they could get to where you were, to play on the kind of teams you played with, the kind of people you played with, man. So I wish you all the best, man. Can't wait to see you on the court.
Thank you. I think
with your stripes on.
Yes, sir.
Calling a foul on somebody.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It was a pleasure. And thank you for your kind words.
Absolutely, man. Till next time.
Yes, sir.
Peace.